Sezno. This is my second video on what I call Kurt Cobain's mixed mode vocabulary that he uses in his songwriting. Check out the first one if you haven't. I unpack a couple of the songs from Nevermind on there. In this one, I'll touch on a few from In Utero. So the main idea in the previous video is that one thing that is special and unique about Kurt Cobain's songwriting is that his music is not easily definable as being in a major key or a minor key. Sometimes he does, but an important part of his style is how he weaves in and out of different modal frameworks and lots of chromatic alteration. And his songs are filled with just like strange, interesting solutions to melody writing. So I'll touch on Heart-Shaped Box and Francis Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle. The second one being really the tune that inspired me to make this follow-up. Heart-Shaped Box is a simpler example, and other people have done like a fuller analysis of it, but it prominently uses an important characteristic of mixed mode writing, which is the usage of mobile scale degrees. Within different modes that are built from the same tonic note, you usually have a couple notes that tend to be the same between them. They hold the same function and they're unaltered between the different modes. So for instance, your perfect fifth would be the same note in the major scale and in the minor scale. Distinctions between the modes, though, come from those scale degrees and intervals relative to your tonic that have both a major and a minor version. Note that that's not the case for either of the relationships I just mentioned, the fifth and the fourth. Those intervals with a major and a minor version, though, these are really the ones that are responsible for changing the character of the mode. These would be your seconds, your thirds, your sixths, and your sevenths. The most obvious example of this is how the minor third and the major third are basically the notes that are most responsible in delineating between the minor scale and the major scale. Likewise, with sixths and sevenths, the minor scale has one version of those and the major scale has the other. However, musicians have, for years, found value in strategically altering one of these scale degrees depending on the situation. And Kurt intuitively knew how to do this. I don't feel like retuning my guitar, so I'm not going to play these songs correctly. Whatever, bro. This is not a tutorial. Heart-Shaped Box makes prominent use of a mobile sixth degree. And especially how famous this song is, it's pretty easy to hear, I think. I do think this is one of their simpler songs to define harmonically. This is mostly in a minor key, G sharp minor, but prominently utilizes the Dorian, which, if you know your modes, is a minor scale with a raised sixth. So in this song, there is a conflict that never leaves the music between the two versions of the sixth degree. So relative to G sharp, between the minor version E and the major version E sharp. The minor sixth E natural is heard exclusively as the root of a power chord, but it forms like an indispensable part of that descending main riff that we hear in that song countless times. That's how I'm choosing to play it. So, notably, we never hear Kurt sing this note. It's literally the only degree in the G sharp natural minor scale that he doesn't actually sing. The main verse melody very cleverly touches on every other scale degree except for the minor sixth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Briefly 7. This note or this note never appears. I'll touch on the harmony vocal line in a second. However, E sharp, the major sixth, shows up notably in the turnaround of the riff. This part. If he was to play E natural there, it would sound something like... Totally different effect. Kurt also, of course, sings that melody fragment in the chorus. I've got a new complaint. So the interesting thing happening here is that the main riff forms a line cliche, in which there is one melody line that's kind of hidden, but it's harmonically implied, that goes up exclusively by half steps. This is, of course, itself antithetical to being in a key. But Kurt heard this in his head a surprising amount. In the first video, I talked about how he does this in the chorus of Territorial Pissings. Gotta find a way, better way, when I'm there. I also talk about how he does that on In Bloom as well. But that's also what's happening here in Heart-Shaped Box, where the implied harmony is a D sharp, an E, an E sharp, from those 3 chords in the main riff. Basically, the implication is something like, so the chord that it lands on, which is on the 4th degree, which I'll call C sharp, typically in a minor key, you would have a minor chord on 4. So relative to this chord, you'd have, but in the context of this line cliche, the 3rd, which ordinarily would be E, is raised to an E sharp, making that chord a major chord. Basically, the progression being, and as we have discussed, E sharp, in this instance, is the raised 6th. So also in the verse, when he puts in a second vocal line that harmonizes with himself, they both start from the same note, but the second line starts from the higher octave. She eyes me like a bossie's when I am weak. Very pretty line. But unlike the main vocal line, this harmony line, it does touch on the 6th degree briefly. But when he hits it, it's the major version, not the minor. She eyes me like a... So this is immensely clever musical intuition from Kurt. He probably didn't know what chromatic alterations were, but in the actual results of his songwriting, he was used to hearing them in his head. He knew when the major 6th was called for, even though his riff prominently uses the minor 6th. Frances Farmer will have her revenge on Seattle. I love this song. There's many interesting things about this melody. This is a mixed mode song in B flat. Everything is relative to a major chord in this song. So the first part of this melody gives another great example of how Kurt uses a mobile 6th degree. The verse begins with what's essentially a 6-4 relationship that you hear a couple of times before it lands decisively on 1. Except, in the progression, the chord on the 6th degree is presented first in its major version G, and then twice in its minor version G flat. It's very peculiar that he starts on one and then shifts to the other. This relationship is especially clear because Kurt sings the perfect 5th of these chords on 6 and 4. It's so relieving to know that you're leaving as soon as you get paid. And these notes correspond to your major 3rd and your minor 3rd of your modes on B flat. Major, it's so relieving, and then minor, to know that you're leaving. Note that the 4 is the same every time that it appears. Like I mentioned earlier, the perfect 4th is a note that is typically present in both modes. It makes sense that it would function the same way even while the 6th degree is changing. Is this song in major? Is it in minor? Like Kurt Cobain did countless times, it's neither. It picks and chooses from both, and also other modes, depending on the needs of the moment. So because he uses so many power chords that have no 3rd, he changes the implications of his harmony all the time, very subtly. This song, and the chorus in particular, is a good demonstrator of how Kurt tended to hear the major 3rd a lot of a given power chord. This is very apparent in this chorus, where every melody note that is sung is the major 3rd of the power chord, the 5th, that it accompanies. I miss the comfort in being sad. This is not diatonic at all. This is never the situation if you're firmly in a major key or a minor key. The funny thing about this is the contrast. The scalar relationships of the 5ths are all from the minor scale, but all of the chords that result are major chords. So with just the 5ths you have pretty minor sound. But in reality how it goes is because he always sings the major 3rd. You actually get every degree of the B flat natural minor scale in this chorus. You get degrees 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the first part. 2, 4, 3, 1. And then in the second part, it descends and it touches 5, 6, and 7. 1, 7, 6, 5. So you have a whole minor scale there, but every single chord is major. Hey, hey, hey. Kurt does this amazing thing with his voice in that second part of the chorus where it descends, where he essentially holds the note of the major third every single time, but he like bends and wavers around each note, and the effect is terrific. Hey, hey. I can't do it justice, but it's like So just to add to the fact that these progressions are more or less functional harmony, despite the strangeness of the mode, the chorus basically ends on a 5 chord. Your most typical penultimate resolution chord, making the entry back into the verse a kind of like grunge deceptive cadence, which is when you tease a 5-1 but go 5-6. So So yeah, very clever song. Love this tune. I didn't film an outro for this video at all. That's the general gist though. A lot of Nirvana melodies are really fun to dissect because there's always something interesting to discover. Nirvana's language musically is something unique and distinct from all of its influences. Let me know if there's any other dissections you'd like me to do. Give me a follow on Instagram. Check out my merch store and my EP. Lots more videos coming soon. Yeah, thanks for watching.